Volvo is an extremely likable automaker. I mean, for all of the efforts that they've put forth in the last, I don't math, 65, 70 years as far as safety is concerned, it's next to impossible to want to hate on this brand. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I have loved them forever. In fact, in my family, we've owned a few and still do own Volvos. But how can I put this? For the last 16 years, 17 years, Volvo has changed dramatically. And that's because they've decided to step away from one of the body styles that have made them absolutely famous across the globe. And that is, as you know, station wagons. Yes, between the XC40, the XC60 and the XC90, well, the V60 and the V90 essentially do not exist anymore, despite being still available for purchase. So I have to thank them essentially for not eliminating, in fact, bringing back this 2022 Volvo V90 after being offered for 2017, 2018, 2019, and then disappearing for 2 model years before returning. So yes, thank you. And thank you for still offering the V60, and thank you for the cross country, but I have to look, I'm upset because Volvo station wagons, however pretty and extremely elite and beautiful as they are, they're just not the Volvo wagons, well, that I owned and that I remember falling in love with decades and decades and decades ago. Yes, I'm that old. I mean, this is kind of a love-hate thing, because I don't want the V90 to go away again. I don't want the V60 to die. I just want Volvo to keep making wagons. But the fact of the matter is that even Volvo, where at one point wagons were safe, are going to have to walk away. If not entirely, well, maybe not entirely, but almost away from this body style. So look, in the following video, we're going to do a walk around of this beautiful 2022 Volvo V90 B6. I'll tell you what's special about it, and I might compare it to a car that I own, which happens to be a station wagon, which happens to be a heck of a lot cheaper than this and a little bit smaller, but not. So without further ado, let's do the walk around and then take it for a spin. Now, as I just very clearly stated, the Volvo V90 is gorgeous. But if you ask me, every Volvo, but every station wagon available for sale globally is beautiful. And, Volvo makes some of the prettiest in every respect. I mean, the V90 is the flagship station wagon, obviously, and you can just tell by the length of the wheelbase and the overall length of this car, which, by the way, I'll just tell you now, is 195.2 inches compared to my Volkswagen Golf Sport wagon, which is 179.6 inches. So, there's about 16 inches and change difference overall length. Just keep that in mind. Maybe write it down. Okay. But look, every time you see a Volvo product, the Thor's hammer, headlights always pop out, the grille, the logo, everything is so distinctly Volvo, it could never be mistaken for absolutely anything else. The only thing maybe unfortunate about the Volvo is that, this color selection is fairly bland. This is Thunder Gray, which, admittedly looks good, but I'd like a red. There's a denim blue, which has been available for a long time. It's a lovely color. It's not that much different from this, but it's a blue. It's not a gray. I guess that's what's really important. Just as a note, a few notes, in fact. The V90 is only available as a cross country in North America, so that explains the extra cladding, the extra ground clearance, and, the faux skid plate type things there. That's one. Two, these 18-inch wheels are not standard. 19s are standard on the V90, but these are winter wheels with Michelin winter tires. What I really like about this setup is that it's so realistic. I mean, this is probably exactly what I would do if I owned this V90 Cross Country B6. Alright. Pricing in the US starts at $56,200. In Canada, $65,950. For that kind of money, well, you get all-wheel drive, obviously. You get Google Assistant, unfortunately, I suppose, with Android Auto, but no Apple CarPlay. 12-inch instrument panel, 9-inch touchscreen display, the aforementioned 19-inch, which these are not. There are 20s available. I believe even 21s has options. Panoramic sunroof, wood grain interior, leather, a power tailgate, a bunch of other stuff. My tester right here, as it sits, essentially has everything in it. So that's the lounge package, which includes the 4-zone climate controls. It's got side curtains. It's got the climate package, which includes the heated steering wheel, which is an option at $65,000, which is kind of meh. It's got, what else? A Bowers & Wilkins audio. Anyhow, as it sits right now with the interior protection group and all that, with the rubber mats, just shy of $79,000. But you know, I could really deal with $79,000 if it wasn't for a few shortcomings. But it's beautiful. I mean, it's just drop dead gorgeous. It's so sleek and elegant. If I was to make one suggestion, the roof rails need to be taller, bigger, more prominent. They got to stick out more. This is, after all, a cross country, right? We agree on that? Okay, so here we go. Power tailgate, as I mentioned. It's actually fairly quick. Really, really like that. And this is where things kind of fall apart for me. I mean, as is, you're looking at 714 liters of boot space. By station wagon standards, which are, well, essentially non-existent, that's pretty small. But my Golf Sport Wagon offers 860 liters of trunk space. Part of the reason why that is because of the angled hatch. All right, for design purposes, I get it. Depth-wise, it's about the same as my Golf, which is insane when you consider the difference in overall length and wheelbase length. Width, about the same too, but the height, there's a big difference there. It's far more accessible. Oh yeah, and the grille there too is another option, which explains why this thing is so expensive. And then, again, wheelbase, look at it. There's a lot of wheelbase. But I don't know where it's all gone, because there's essentially no real gain in rear seat space. When I set up both baby seats on the back seat in my Golf, yes, I know, my daughter, she's terrible. What can I tell you? It can be cleaned easily. There isn't much more room. It's about the same. And that kind of bugs me, given the size of this car. And it also points to the fact that, well, utility and capability, well, capability is different, but utility has been sucked out in exchange for design. And I can't blame Volvo for that. It just bogs me a little bit. I'm difficult. But what I do love, the wood. This is a nice feature, but you have to buy that one of the packages. I think it's the lounge one. Oh yeah, and you can see the controls here for the 4-zone climate down there, which are kind of nice. But you know what? When you're getting a Volvo, you're getting these. Oh my goodness, they are as beautiful as they are comfortable and supportive. The bolstering is adjustable, power lumbar. This is power adjustable. The length here, you have all the controls down here. It's beautiful. It's so elegant, so premium, with, you know, touches that go as far back as, well, I think it's the first generation XC90 in 2005 or 6. But it still works. It's still gorgeous. Let's just drop in, shall we? Starting it up. Just a matter of rotating the little thing there. Well, because this is a B6 mile hybrid, I'll tell you a little bit more about it. It doesn't have actual start. Got a motor generator, but anyway, there's your 12-inch display, which is slightly configurable when you press the button on the steering wheel right there. There you have different display. This one also has the heads up as part of one of the option packages. Here is the 9-inch touchscreen display with Google Assistant. For the most part, that's essentially your home button. This is your home page. This is your settings and all of that. It's fairly straightforward. You do have your message center, should you have any there. But what is grossly lacking is Apple CarPlay. And at the Polestar 2 drive event that I did last fall, we had a discussion with Polestar Volvo. They're still, joined at the hip, obviously. An update was supposed to be available last fall, still hasn't come. But overall, otherwise, the Google Assistant kind of works. I'm not going to go through it right now, but for the most part, this works. You can always do that too, and you have your various camera setups right there. Here's your HVAC, which, as you can see, works well with gloves. So that I'm very happy to report. Now I might as well show you now. So if you remember the wheel on the side of the seat, there are all your power seat controls, your various different settings. Oh yes, and that does say massage. Some of my other complaints, there is no storage, wireless charger, but this is essentially useless. Cup holders, but they're gone. This is very small, but it's so beautiful in here. How beautiful is that? The Bowers & Wilkins, very expensive option, something like $3,700 or $3,800. Visibility is quite good. You do get a sense that you're at the helm of a large vehicle, which is really small on the inside, so that kind of bugs me a lot. And you have this nice little opening here for visibility. And here's one of the things that bugs me the most, but it's just a question of habit. If you want to go from, you can see the P there, right? If you want to go to drive, you got to pull once because it drops into neutral, and then drive. So if you want to go into reverse, you got to push once and push twice to go into reverse. I find that excessively annoying, but maybe I'm annoying. Who knows? No, I do. I'm annoying. I know it. Okay, time to go for a drive. I suppose you get over that. I suppose. Okay, so driving the Volvo V90 is, as far as the ride quality is concerned, it's absolutely flagship premium. There's a funny thing though, and this is probably just me, but I've found in recent years, say over the last 4 or 5 years, that the smaller the Volvo SUV is, the more comfortable and more refined the ride is, which doesn't really make sense, I understand. And when it comes to the cars, the V90 is superior to the V60, if mostly because of the longer wheelbase, which is logical. Now, it's a fully independent suspension setup. There's a rear transverse leaf spring between the wheels in the back for added comfort and for increased load capability, I suppose, because you assume if you have a Volvo wagon, you're going to load up the trunk all the time. But all in all, this thing is uber comfortable in every possible scenario. We've had a period of massive snow, super cold temperatures, thaw, rain, and all that, and that just makes the roads even worse than they usually are in the greater Montreal area. And this thing just handled those nasty ruts and broken surfaces like a champ. I will say that because I am on 18-inch winter tires, ride quality, the comfort level, that extra damping and coziness afforded by the sidewalls may have something to do with the overall ultra comfortable ride. But I'm thinking with the 19s, even the 20s, maybe less with the 21s, the ride is still going to be very, very good. And as far as braking is concerned, it's great. Vented discs all around. Pedal response is really, really nice as well. There are others, there aren't that many drive modes with this vehicle, which is great. I'm very happy about that. One of them is steering. You could have like a sporty or a normal assist. The sporty, what I've noticed is that on center has a huge hole in it in the assistance, and then it gets heavy instantly. There's no or very little progression in that sporty assistance. And when you go into normal steering assistance, the assistance is just level across, so there's no gap in the middle of the assistance. So I don't know why you'd have sporty in this. Anyhow, about the ride quality too, it's a cross country, so you get 8 inches of travel, but I could not find anywhere or a specific indication that this chassis was tuned differently than, say, a regular V90, which we no longer get. So all in all, the ride is superb. I mean, you just want to drive and drive and drive in this car. One thing that makes this... Okay, before I talk about that. At Volvo, you have 4s, 5s, 6, and 8s. Those numbers that you'll see attached to a model designation has to do with very warm heated seats. No, I'm kidding. Has to do with a power range. So we don't get 4, we get 5 and 6 and 8 here in North America and Canada. And this is a B6. So that means that you have a turbocharger and the supercharger attached to the 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. But unlike, say, the T6, output is down slightly, but compensated by an integrated motor generator. So essentially, there's no penalty. If memory serves, a T6 has 316 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. I think I got that right. So in the B8, you get 295 horsepower, but it's augmented or increased by 13 because of the motor generator for a total output of 308. Torque with total system torque is 310 pound-feet of torque. That's a lot of torque. A lot of torques, I should say. Anyway, point being is that there's no disadvantage to getting a B6 over a T6, although you can't get a T6 anymore. And for all intents and purposes, this thing moves quite well. Okay. Volvo says from a standstill, it'll reach 100 kilometers an hour in 6.4 seconds. But my butt dyno makes me think that it's a little faster than that. But this is still a close to between 42 and 4,300 pound car, so it's fairly heavy and it's big, but it feels really good. Now, one of the main advantages you're supposed to get from the mild hybrid technology is fuel efficiency improvements. It is rated at 9.5 liters per 100 kilometers. I mean, I've done in the last 3 days only city driving, so I'm at 14, which isn't great, but that's not realistic. I'm sure that once the weekend rolls around and we go for our drives to, the in-laws and all that, that number will jump or drop dramatically to probably closer to 10. The weather is not so bad, and it's only just above freezing point, around freezing point. So I believe that 9.5 is attainable. All right, so what's the conclusion here? It's a great car to drive. It's beautiful. I love it. I hate it because it's too small as well. I mean, if you want a premium, flagship, larger station wagon, you have no other options. Sorry to tell you, but that's about it. I mean, yes, you can still get an E-Class, which I suppose is this car's direct competitor. We can't get a C-Class wagon anymore. You can still get an all-road, which is, in my mind, classification-wise, maybe a notch below. It's a heck of a lot cheaper than that. And that might be this car's weakest point, but it is, after all, a premium automobile, large, mid-size, I don't know. Oh, heck, too many words to say that I absolutely freaking love this thing. I think it's too small on the inside. Volvo, never stop making wagons, please. And when you do go full EV, make sure you have a wagon. Just please do it, at least for the brand's image, for old guys like us that love Volvos and wagons.